Angry guy here, and hashtag MeToo Part Two is targeting every man now, and I am here with MK Fitness.
What's up, guys? MK Fitness in the Philippines, coming at you live from the Philippines, Angeles City, Clark City, Balibago, Pampanga, and all the surrounding area. I'm repping the whole neighborhood. What's going on, guys?
All right. So there is a lot of things going on. There's a couple different topics I want to discuss. Shout out to the chat. And I mean, it's crazy. So MK Fitness actually dropped me a comment earlier regarding what was happening with Vin Diesel. I was literally shocked. I did predict it. I did predict that we were going to be entering into M2 Part 2 very soon, and that's absolutely what's happening. Although, like I said, right now we're just seeing the pregame show. These celebrities that are getting taken down, it's going to be much larger than that. But it's not even so much about the big guys. It's going to be the little guys. They're going to be going for everyone. The janitor. They're going to be going for the plumber. They're going to be going for the electrician. They're going to be going for Steve, who does photocopies and doesn't talk to anyone. They're going to be going for everyone, because right now this is literally about getting that money. They're hitting 40 and 50. They can't work anymore. They're struggling in these streets, and they're going to do whatever they can. And their way of survival is now to literally go after every guy for anything. We've seen it with Jonathan Majors, who just lost his entire career with Disney when he was the one who was actually the victim in the situation. We saw what happened with P. Diddy. Like, another woman has come forward and she's accusing him of things as well, trying to collect off him. And now Vin Diesel, unbelievable. This could actually mess up the entire Fast franchise. I'm going to put some of the articles on the screen right now so that everyone can see the situation with Vin Diesel. So we have that article up there. And I mean, what are your thoughts, MK?
Yeah, you definitely called it. I'm in just as much shock as you are because I really did not believe that at this point, with everything going on, that they were actually going to double down on the M2, but it looks like they're going even harder than before. A lot of stuff just happened recently, just in the past few days and weeks. So yeah, I'm in shock too with the whole situation. This is just crazy. They're going after everybody, everybody and anybody with money. Also, the companies. That's really what they. I think it's not just the individuals because, like, the janitor doesn't have any money. They're going to go after the companies. So whatever company that janitor works for, they're going to be going after that company. So, because that's where they're really going to get the millions from.
Absolutely,
So the
absolutely, absolutely.
so these companies are gonna. I don't know what's gonna happen really. Like, these companies are definitely gonna have to start passing some bills, some legislations to protect themselves from these lawsuits because they can't. They just can't afford it.
I mean, we can already see that after M2, you know, a lot of companies, they started dividing up shifts where they would only have women working in shifts. With, like, for example, you go to a fast food restaurant, it's not like this everywhere, but some places you notice now that, like, you'll have women only working with women and maybe men only working with men. But since there's more women working in fast food these days, it'll still end up overlapping. And it's just shout out to Mayumi. Mayumi said, "This is why the women in my husband's security company are not American women. Yes, years ago, my husband was blamed by some 20 something, and luckily a camera caught everything. Holy cow. It's no, it's insane." Jay says people with money will just leave America. It's insane. And for example, to kind of double down on that point, if you look at the fast food industry, and right now these people are making like 15, not in California, it's $20 an hour. They're going to start making very soon. And it's, $20 an hour to flip burgers. And it's not just that, it's going to be Starbucks, all of these places. They're going to be making more than a lot of people who even have a trade starting out. And when you realize just how powerful these people have gotten, it's not going to be a surprise when women working at McDonald's are going to start talking about their experiences, and that they've they've experienced unwanted physical contact and unwanted verbal comments and a bunch of other things, and they're going to go after these fast food restaurants. They're going to go after McDonald's, the employees at Walmart, the women who work at Walmart. They're going to go after Walmart. The women who work at Target, they're going to go after Target, Trader Joe's, every single one of these companies, because these women are going to basically do the math, and they're going to say that, you know what, it's going to make more sense for me to just go after this company. I don't even like working here anyway. I'm going to say whatever I need to say, and that's it. And either they give me my money, they give me a settlement, or they're going to have to go to court and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars defending against it. And I'll put them all over Twitter. That's because that's where they go. I'll put them all over social media, and the amount of money that will cost to hire an attorney versus giving these women even a $50,000 settlement, they're going to settle. Walmart's going to, every single one of these companies are going to settle. And what these women do is they mimic one another. That's women mimic. So, for example, one woman comes forward and she makes this accusation. She's basically the one laying the foundation now, because every other woman will now basically say that she had the exact same experience as the woman before her. If you look at what happened with Cosby, that's what all these women did. They basically said that they all had the exact same experience. They were all copying the woman before them. Like, oh, he did the same thing with me. He did the same thing. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, he really did. And no, they're just copying each other's story. And by doing that, it makes it seem like there's some legitimacy to it. And like it was like a serial thing. Like, this guy was a serial so-and-so. But in reality, they're just copying one another, and they're making it up as they go along. And that's what they're going to do. And these companies will have no choice, because lawyers are expensive. Cosby, in his case, this guy was worth like $350 million. And now I read that he's having financial issues because of the legal fees. He was hoping to leave some money for his family before he, when he passes away. And now that might not even be much of a reality. And this guy was worth $350 million or more. And his wealth has now dwindled down over the years just defending himself. So this guy's easily lost tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars just defending himself. And this tells us that when it comes to these companies, they're going to go after the janitor, but of course the janitor doesn't have any money. So like you said, so it's really the company that they want. So they're going to say that, oh, the janitor did this. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. Everybody knows it's not true, but no one can say it. So they'll sue the company, they'll sue whatever. Oh, yep, we're going to give you that settlement. And then of course, the terms of the settlement will say that they cannot discuss, the employer they're suing cannot discuss the terms of the settlement and cannot reveal anything. So basically, they can now walk away, and many of these women will actually will do it in such a way that they can be anonymous. So some of them will even be anonymous, and they'll do it in such a way that they'll get their money. They'll get their money, and no one will ever know who they are. Sometimes they will, but in many of them, no one will ever know who they are. They'll get their money, they'll walk away, and they'll just go get a job somewhere else. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. They will literally do this they'll literally M2 Walmart, M2 some dude at Walmart, or just say that it's been a lot of people. It's been Walmart as a whole, and then they'll just leave, go to another company. If you look at what's happening at Activision Blizzard, I talked about this in a video. You look at what's happening at Activision Blizzard. They were one of the biggest video game companies in the world. They were worth like $100 million. And because of these allegations that were made, it reduced their stock price down to about $69 billion. But that's still a lot of money. Microsoft swooped in, saw that that the company was, at a rock bottom prices, and scooped them up, which is kind of bullcrap. But the irony here is that the California board, all these different groups that were accusing them of because a woman came forward claiming that that they were received unwanted advances, unwanted touch, unwanted comments, and there was pay disparity at the company. They were not being paid fairly, and independent investigations was done. An internal investigation was done. Independent investigations were done. The California board did their own investigation. The same board that accused them of doing these things. And guess what? The independent boards found nothing. The California board found nothing. The internal review found that none of the claims were actually, that there was no proof whatsoever that any of these women said actually happened. But guess what? These women still ended up receiving tons of money. The company had to basically pay California, settle with California for tens of millions of dollars. Then separately, they also had to they agreed to pay set aside like $47 million to settle the claims by these women, the same exact claims that no one that everyone found were not true. So why are these women being paid if it's not true? It's absolutely insane. They can basically say whatever they want. Look at Jonathan Major. We have video evidence that this guy did nothing, that he was actually the victim. This guy has now lost everything. He's lost his career. And this woman was recording him. She tried recording him. It only makes him look better. He basically said, "Don't come into the house drunk. Don't disturb the peace of the house. You need to carry yourself like a lady. I'm a person I'm a person that's very influential. So being a person that's influential, I need to carry myself a certain way. You need to be a team player. You need to carry yourself like other women who carry themselves well." And she thought that was going to hurt him. But come on, now he's lost his entire career over nothing. And he was the one that she chased down the road, literally because she saw something on his phone she didn't like. I mean, come on. And it's only going to go from bad to worse. And these guys, a lot of these guys like P. Diddy, this guy is a well-connected guy with the powers that be. And not even they can save him right now. Not even they can save him right now. But I've been rambling. You go ahead and put your piece in there.
Uh, well, I was going to say that there's an echo. Hold on. Why is there an echo? Okay, I think it went away.
All right.
I mean, it's just the M2 is just it's the gold rush. It's a modern day gold rush for them, for these women. And you mentioned the fast food companies. When you think about how small the kitchens are in the back of these fast food restaurants, it's very easy to accidentally bump into somebody, when you have multiple employees back there working, so that's going to make a very easy case for them to file harassment, just because, you accidentally bumped into somebody because there's not enough space to walk around back there with all the equipment, the stove, refrigerators, the supplies for all the food. These restaurants are very small, tight places you have to work in. So obviously, from time to time, you're going to accidentally bump into other coworkers. So that's going to make a very easy case for them with the fast food industries, and even with some of the stores. Back in the stock rooms, they're so overstocked with product that there's not a lot of room to walk around in the back rooms. Because I've actually worked in Walmart. They have the back rooms are stocked with product that has to move. There's not a lot of room to walk around in there. I mean, you're gonna bump into people, while you're on the job. So this is definitely just a new gold rush for women. And that $47 million from Activision is like, how much of that, like how many women are they going to have to pay out? I mean, that could be maybe hundreds of thousands per woman. I mean, they're not going to have to work anymore for at least a couple of years. They're just going to get their payout. They're going to quit. And is that money even taxable? Do they have to pay taxable?
I'm pretty sure it's not taxable because it's going to be set. Like that's a good question. Like, let me Google that. Not Google that. I'll ask ChatGPT while you're talking. Keep talking.
I mean, $47 million per female employee, and I don't know how many female employees they have, but they can't have that many employees. So let's say every employee gets a couple of 100,000. I mean, that's at least, depending on where they live. Let's say they move out of California, they can live off of that for at least 2 years if they move to Texas. And let's say that, and if that's tax-free money, so they're not working, they're not paying taxes for a couple of years. If they're really smart, they'd move out of the country completely. They could live off that for, 10, 20 years if they left the country. Let's see. I wanted to talk about the Jonathan. What's his name? Jonathan Majors. Okay, the story with Jonathan Majors. The news is painting two different stories. They're trying to actually make him look like he basically beat this woman. Uh, but the real story is that because I think they had a cab driver, and the cab driver testified that she was the aggressor. So he was obviously getting messages on his phone, and it could have been anything. It could have been work messages. You know what I mean? Like, he's a famous guy. He's busy. You know, he's probably getting ready for the next movie. So it could have just been messages from work. And she just assumes in her mind, in her imagination, that he's getting messages from other women, right? She just made it up in her head, and she grabbed his phone. All right, so this is that in itself is, I think, assault, right? If you violently grab someone else's phone, I think that constitutes as assault, right? I mean, I don't know. If someone grabs my phone from me against my will, I feel like I've been assaulted.
What's
So,
interesting, what's interesting, the point you made right there is that a lot of people, even in the media, have argued that that if someone takes your property, like for example, if a woman is walking down the street and someone snatches her purse, she has the right to retrieve her property, even if she has to use physical force to do that. So if she, tries to retrieve her property and she has to put her hands and cause physical damage to the person who snatched her purse, she is legally able to do that. So the argument that they're making is, is right then and there. It's not exactly the same as what you're saying, but it's still, yeah, he definitely had the right to do that, and he could even use physical force. Even if she did get injured, it would still be legal because she took his property. And you're absolutely right. The driver actually testified against her in court, saying that she was the aggressor. She was the one who went after him. He was defending himself. And even then, and she chased. There's a video that shows her chasing him literally down the street as he's running away from her, and she's chasing him at full speed. And even then, this still happened to him. And this kind of illustrates. This is Me Too Part 2, but we're still in the pregame show. The pregame show is them going after the big name people like Jonathan Major, people like P Diddy, people like Vin Diesel. That's the pregame show. This is the pregame show. The main show is when they start going after the little guy at McDonald's, the janitor. When they start going after, I mean, even the people at the gym, like when they start going after these dude, like regular dude, they're gonna go after everyone. They're gonna go after guys at the gym, like, oh, the men at the gym. I thought like Planet Fitness created an unsafe environment for us, and we don't feel safe at Planet Fitness anymore. And because they've been making these gym creep videos, like, oh, he stared at me and blah 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 blah. They're gonna start suing for that now, and it's going to create such a serious disparity where you may end up having separate gym hours for men and women, but I don't think that's going to happen. Literally, just going to even though they know that the men aren't doing anything, even though they know that the women are doing this, they're going to basically pass a new set of guidelines warning male members. They're not going to say male, but it's basically targeting male members to remember that they need to conduct themselves in a certain way, or they can have their gym membership revoked and face legal consequences. And they're going to put up signs everywhere. If they're already not there, they're going to put them up now. And it's going to be absolutely insane. And you're going to see women doing this. They're going to file their lawsuit saying they went to the gym and they felt uncomfortable, and that this guy was, basically this guy, said something to them, or this guy, was unwanted touch. And unless they have cameras there, it's not going to work. They're not just going to sue the people they work with. They're going to sue people that just random dudes off the street. Anyone they can go after so that they can sue the large companies and get their money. And it's all going to be, Demon said, court settlements are not taxable. The interest they generate is. Very, very. Thank you for providing that information. Yeah, it's going to be everyone. Everyone. I mean, if they can go after family members, they will go after family members. Some of them will go after family members at that. Okay, some of them will go after family members. It's going to be paramount, paramount. Like I said, this is just a pregame show. As you see more and more celebrities going down, more and more of these guys going down, understand that it is not these are not this is not the main focus. This is the pregame. Those big guys that are falling like flies, that's just the pregame. It's the small guys, and when they start going after the companies, it's gonna be insane. When McDonald's is like, they think that they don't care. And another, just want to say this, you said something about, how much are these women going to get, like $100,000, $200,000, like that's enough to live off for a couple of years. Bro, you need to really think about this carefully. You're thinking like a man. You're thinking like a man. But when you apply this to women, they're gonna get $200,000. These are people who, easy come, easy go. They have no financial literacy. They're going to get that money and they're going to spend that money fast. That money is not going to. A lot of these women, they get $200,000. They'll be gone within a couple of months, because one of the first things they're going to do is try to do, buy garbage, like buy some trash and buy
No,
some.
no,
Go ahead.
yeah, you're right. I am thinking about like a man, because the first thing they're gonna do is go buy $100,000 Mercedes Benz.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
So yeah, you're right. Then they're gonna have to look for the next target to re-up their money again. So it's just going to be rinse, wash, and repeat until these companies get fed up. See, these companies are going to have to start banding together and start petitioning the government to make laws, which they can do. They're gonna use their money to pay these government lawmakers to start passing laws to protect them from these lawsuits. Or else
go ahead.
Or else there's going to be some kind of like insurance. There's going to be METOO insurance companies are going to have to buy, so they can pay off all this METOO money.
I used to work in insurance, and I'll tell you right now, insurance companies, they don't want to pay for anything. So you're not wrong about that, but these insurance companies are going to literally look at it like, are you kidding us? This is happening, and you think, they'll come out with insurance policies, but they're going to be very expensive. It's gonna be really, really hard. I mean, it really varies. It really varies. But when you have like, it's literally gonna be, well, does this man work within any proximity of a woman? Is there any chance that he can come in contact with a woman? How old is this guy? There's gonna be all these factors. And it's going to be so bad that, companies, they're going to charge a lot for this insurance. M2, like, Nudie Lowell says, M2 is the new lottery. It really, it's, and you actually said this before. You called it the new gold rush. You keep on talking while I step away for a moment, but you keep on talking to the audience.
All right, let me continue talking about. I wanted to talk about the gym stuff too, because well, let me finish talking about what I was talking about, Jonathan Majors. So the cab driver actually testified that she was the aggressor. She initially grabbed his phone from him, violently assaulted him first by taking his phone, and all he did was take his phone back. And so obviously she didn't want to give it back to him, so I guess he had to use some amount of force to get his phone back from her. And there's video evidence. Okay, by the way, so before in the MANOSPHERE, we talked about, recording everything. So this incident was recorded, and we also have the witness of the cab driver saying she was the aggressor. And still, even with video evidence, with the eyewitnesses, he is still convicted of assault. So now we are at a point where even if you have a witness, even if the whole incident is recorded, it does not matter. You are still going to be convicted. All right, so this sets a new precedent in the MTO movement where, I mean, how do you defend yourself? Cameras don't defend you anymore. Witnesses don't defend you anymore. You have no means of protecting yourself at this point, based on this case alone, because we have the cab driver witness testifying she was the aggressor. We have video footage of her chasing him down the street, acting like a crazy person, and yet he is still convicted and facing up to 1 year in prison. So what are men to do at this point? Now, as far as the Hollywood is concerned, this is really, really going to hurt women, like, hypothetically, the good women, because Hollywood's just going to transition to basically AI. Every female actor is going to be AI. It's just going to be like, what's that movie? Avatar. It's just going to be Avatar. Every movie is going to be Avatar from here on out, because they might even use AI for the male actors as well, because then the women are going to start complaining that, oh, it's not fair that the male actors still have jobs and we don't. So then they have to use AI for both male and female actors just to be fair.
You know something interesting you just said though? How insane would this be? Just hear me out for a moment regarding the whole AI concept. Back during like the medieval era, back during those back in the days of Shakespeare, evidently, when they had plays, at some point in time, those like plays and public performances, women didn't actually. I don't know when it started, but women previously did not even act in those plays. And the role of the woman was often played by a boy. This is
That
what
is
I.
true.
Oh, so you know about that?
Yeah, that's historically true, that there were no female actors. All the female characters were played by men.
So if that's the case, how insane would it be if, like you said, they use AI and they kind of do the whole avatar thing, but then they take it a step further where instead of having a female actress, you don't actually need a female. You can literally, you can change voices around today very easily to make a man sound like a woman. So why not have a guy just play that role also?
Yeah, and then they can just put like some CGI over that guy to make him look like a woman. So, just like an Avatar, it's basically going to be Avatar. It's going to be a big giant green screen room, where they have all the little tennis balls on the guy, but he's actually playing a female character.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's good. These women, this they're playing for, I don't know. At this point, it's like they've lost their souls. They don't care about anything anymore. It's just Myron from Fresh and Fit said that all women today want to do is get their bag, and he's 100% right. They just want to get their bag, and they don't even what they're doing right now, and they can't comprehend it. Is just like what they've done with only fools models have done, our lonely fans. They've sold their futures for instant gratification in the present, and modern day women in Western society don't realize that they are literally selling their futures for instant gratification in the present. And that money that they get, that 200,000, 200,000, a lot of them aren't even going to get that, because, like, for example, it's going to become such a mainstream thing for these people to file these lawsuits that they're going to settle for like 50,000. A lot of them are going to settle for like 50,000 or whatever, because like they're not going to have any real claim, and the companies are just going to try to quickly settle immediately, settle as quickly as possible, because there are so many claims coming in and they're absolutely bogus. So it has to basically be at a point where they could just write off the loss as quickly as possible, as cheaply as possible. And with a lot of women, it's still going to be a lot. So let's say a lot of these women let's say they get $50,000, that'll be gone overnight. They get $100,000, $200,000. I mean, they're going to go out and spend $100,000 on a luxury car. The rest of that, they're going to go and they're going to spend, they're going to burn, they're going to go and get a new place to live. So check into nice, they're going to go on vacation, start taking trips immediately, spending like they're millionaires. They're going to go. They're going to go absolutely ballistic. They're going to say, oh, I deserve to live in a house. So they're going to put money down on a house without even asking themselves, how can I afford this? And, within like within like a month, some of these women are going to be broke. Like literally within a month or two of getting paid, some of these women are not only going to be broke, but they're going to be in extreme debt because they're going to take out things on credit because getting access to that money, that's going to open them up to maybe higher credit. So they're going to start taking out even more things on credit. So they're going to end up even deeper in debt than they were when they started doing this. And these women are crazy because instead of paying off any existing debt that they have, like student loans or personal debt, they're not going to pay it off. They're just going to, what they're going to do is they'll make their minimum payments because a lot of these women have like tens of thousands of dollars in debt, if not hundreds of thousands. So they're going to take that money, they're going to have fun with it, and then as it starts to run out, and they're going to start taking out more money in debt, spending more money in debt, and they're going to find themselves in horrible places. But of course, like I said, this is only going to be, it's going to be different from the previous M2 movement, and that it's going to be literally a rinse and repeat. They're going to go to one company, they'll go to Walmart. They'll do this at Walmart. And as soon as they do this at Walmart, they're going to head over to Target. And Target has no idea that they did this. So, and it'll be very difficult for them to find out, but over time, but here's the thing, eventually the companies are going to start catching on and saying, okay, well, why did you go from Walmart to here? But it'll still be difficult, but they're going to be afraid. But you're going to have a lot of women doing things like, okay, they'll go to Walmart, they'll do this at Walmart, then they'll get hired at Target, work at Target for like a couple of weeks, and within those couple of weeks, they'll say that they incurred so much different this and this and this. And these women are smart. They'll dress themselves, they'll dress in like outfits and put themselves in areas and places where men are going to be, bending over and doing whatever they have to do so that they can make these accusations. They'll set up they'll start recording these guys, so they'll try to get a male manager angry or whomever they can, and they'll start recording him so that they can like show like they were badgered and they were shamed and all this other stuff. And this is an example. They're going to be, these women are going to be recorded 24/7. This is something that men have to know. They're going to have on spy cams, everything. They're going to have their cell phones going, and they're going to be recording 24/7, because they're literally waiting for some guy to walk by and say, hey, you look really nice today. Or hey, do you want to go out with me? Because they're using that as ammunition. So they're going to be waiting for any guy just to interact with them, just to be polite to them, anything, or to have an argument with them. Their boss has an argument with them. It could even be a female boss. It doesn't matter. They're going after everyone. They're going to say it's a pattern of harassment. It's a pattern of discrimination. It's a pattern of blah, 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 blah. Bro, you've only been there like 2 weeks. Yeah, but all these women are coming forward now, and every woman is going to copy the story of the previous woman, and they're going to file these lawsuits. And by the time this thing reaches its peak, hundreds of billions of dollars over the course of a year or just a few years will be lost. Hundreds of billions. Like they'll push this thing to $1 trillion if they can. And the fallout from this, it will completely change the landscape, the working environment, not just the working environment, just the environment around us entirely, even going to the gym, going to the doctor, going to just society as a whole. It will fracture society, I shouldn't say fracture, it will break society in such a way that it will basically change the way that we live, breathe, and operate in Western society.
Well, it's basically going to be like a lot of these companies are probably going to go bankrupt, and it's going to be like this the same equivalent as to what happens whenever they have these riots in these cities, and they go and they burn down Walgreens and CVS, and then Walgreens and CVS, they don't rebuild. So it's going to be like that. These companies are going to get, they're going to get these lawsuits. They're going to have to start shutting down. Maybe they're not going to go completely bankrupt, but they're going to have to start shutting down some stores here and there, and they're not going to reopen those stores. So that city or that community is going to start losing jobs for the people, for the regular people who actually want to work and don't want to, extort money out of these companies from the METOO. So not only are they hurting themselves, they're hurting the entire community, because they're going to start losing jobs in those communities, because as those stores close down, as the companies have to recoup their losses from these lawsuits, obviously they're going to be closing stores in those communities. So it's going to really hurt the entire community financially and economically, on top of already the economic troubles that the U.S. is already having. It's just going to multiply it.
Mayumi calls them predatory females. It's no, she's absolutely right. She's 100% right about that. And someone basically said that, yeah, and men are just going to leave society. They're just going to leave the country, and it's either they're going to go into nature. A lot of dudes are going to go into nature, or they're going to leave the country. Like you're like men walking away from Western society and relationships in Western society. It's only going to reach its massive peak. And I mean, it's going to keep it's right now. I said that, I said the password bros. Right now, it's a trend. Trends become normalities. Normalities become traditions. It is going M2 part two is going to it's going to result in the password bros, password kings. Let me got to use proper language here. Password kings becoming a tradition. Becoming a tradition. It's going to become a normality. We're transitioning to a normality now. It's going to become a normal thing for a man to go overseas, to date, to find a wife, or to have a relationship. It's not going to be done in Western society anymore. Everyone is going to understand, and it's literally going to be women in foreign countries are going to view Western women as disgraced, and the fall that of course, while all these women are making all this money, it's going to look good on the surface, but as you said, it's going to affect communities massively, because a lot of these companies are just going to shut down. They're going to shut down, or they're going to move. They're going to move their presses from these communities. And who are the main employees in these stores? Women. So a lot of these jobs are going to be knocked out with AI. Because if you look at, there's an Amazon store that came out years ago where you can walk into the store, you can pick up items, and you pick up this item, and all these cameras would basically track you, and then you'd walk out the store. And that's really what's coming. That is literally 100% what's coming. And of course, there'll be someone to ensure that people aren't stealing. But that's the reality that's really coming for us right now, where you're going to end up with these stores. A lot of these stores where people are going to go do their shopping. They will never interact with an employee for the most part. There won't be anyone. Almost there'll be people there, but not so much. And it's gonna knock those jobs out. It's really gonna knock those jobs out. Furthermore, it's not just the stores. More people. If you look at Black Friday, this past Black Friday in the United States, I don't know if you heard about this. They showed like the stores, and many of these stores were completely empty. Walmart,
Yeah.
standing around, and Walmart was completely empty, and they were shocked. They're like, "Yeah, no one's coming. No long lines. People are literally choosing not to go into the stores. They're doing their shopping on Black Friday and on Cyber Monday." And I'll be honest with you, you have to be careful, because these what these companies are now doing is they're not even giving you they're not even giving you deals anymore. They just know that that people will do their shopping during that period, so they're basically pricing things for the same amount that they would price them for the entire year anyway. But this are maybe just like a few dollars off. I've noticed that, but that's another subject. But yeah, people are just buying everything off Amazon. Like I order everything off Amazon. I order literally everything off Amazon right now. I order everything off Amazon. If I need groceries, I order from Instacart. If I want fast food, I order fast food there. Literally, you can use, I didn't know this. I am in literal shock. But you can literally use Instacart to shop at Best Buy now, evidently. Like you can shop at Best Buy, bro. That's an electronics store. You can buy your okay, yep. You can buy your stuff. Stuff gotta watch the profanity on YouTube. You can buy your stuff on using Instacart from Best Buy and other locations. So if you actually want to shop from a retail store, you can shop from that store using an app, and then have someone bring that to you. I mean, that's going to be something huge. By the way, regarding these applications as well, where you have people dropping off your food for you and stuff like that, most of the people who do this work are men. However, while most of the people who do this work are men, I do see women doing it sometimes. Sometimes I'll have some really pretty girls dropping off my food. Most of the times they're not that pretty, but sometimes you'll have pretty girls or young women or even older women doing this. And I'm going to guarantee you that you're going to have women on these apps. You're going to have women that do this work, also claiming that they're experiencing unwanted advancements by customers as well as staff members in these restaurants. Like, oh, I went to pick up my food, and the guy at McDonald's, he said something to me. And then of course Uber Eats and DoorDash is going to issue, all these women are going to come, they're going to start mimicking and copying the first woman, copying every woman, the first woman who said it, and coming up with the same exact story. And they might twist it a little bit here and there, but most of the time they're just going to copy one another. And then you're going to have the statements coming from Uber Eats and DoorDash and Instacart and all, Grubhub and all these other applications. Oh, we've reviewed these allegations and we're doing an internal investigation. We want everyone to feel safe using our platform to earn money as well as to receive orders and blah blah blah. And the fact is that even though they're all lying, it doesn't matter, because when you have like 100, 200,000, it's going to be a lot of people. Like what I say, a lot of people. It's going to be, we're talking about millions of women are going to be doing this. Hundreds of that, millions of women, millions. It's going to be millions of women doing this right now. Millions of them. It's going to be like nothing we ever saw. Oh, we just got a super. That's nice. ZetaPal dropped a $9.99 super sticker. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate that, dude. Let me see. Did you drop a message with? Do you have a message with that? He did not. It's just a sticker. He said, "Hey, old buddy, shout out to ZetaPal. Hey, bro, thank you so much for that." Michael says, "Angry guy, I was unsubbed. I don't know why it happens. Sometimes that YouTube sometimes unsubs people if they think that like it's a spam sub. Just sub again. I apologize for that. I didn't have a part in it, but I apologize for that. It just happens on YouTube sometimes. Let me just read some of the comments. Dialect says, how do you print Darlek? I think it's like Darlek. Do you know how to pronounce that right? It's from Doctor Who. Yeah.
Dalek.
What?
Dalek.
Is that how you pronounce it? Dalek. Yeah, Dalek. Dalek or Darlek. Says Africa is not cooperating with wokeness. Yeah, dude. MK, the thing is, though, a lot of these companies, they've gone so far woke, like Disney, that it's not so much that, yeah, they're going to try to have, laws passed for themselves. Shout out to Derek Marie. Got to shout out Derek. He says, request a man to deliver the products. These companies have gone so far woke that it's going to be less of them trying to reverse and walk away from the wokeness that they've created. More so, it's just basically going to be more policies, that are going to, punish men, make life harder for men. But what women don't realize is that it's going to become very, very difficult for them, because men are the ones who hold up these companies. Men are the ones who work the long hours. Men are walking away from working from Western society in droves. They're dropping out of the workforce. Women don't work long hours. Women don't want to work the long hours. So, these women also think that they're going to get rid of these guys and get their jobs. No, it's not. It's because the guys at the company are compensating for a lot of the slacking that some of these women do, why they are even able to have those jobs. So when men begin walking away from fields like even medicine, it's going to have, it's the outcome is going to be massive. I literally made a video about this where a female doctor was saying that, she and her colleagues can't work those long hours, and they basically leave those long hours to the men. So y'all are making the exact same money because y'all are on a salary. So there's no overtime with these doctors normally. If they're salary, they're not getting overtime. So these women are working fewer hours than the men, significantly fewer hours than the men, but collecting the same amount of money. So that means that they're really stealing. It's 100% theft, and yet they're going to be in medicine, and they're going to be hashtagging MeTooing the doctors, the male nurses, everyone, the administration. They're going to go after everyone, and then even the patients, they're going to go after everyone. They're going to get that money, and then they're going to think that when all these male doctors say, there are the support staff say, you know what, we're not doing this anymore, we're just going to walk away. They're going to think that their lives are going to get easier because all that work is going to be piled up on them. Many of them are going to end up either having to drop out, or they're going to work part-time, and it's still going to be hard. And women are creating their own nightmare right now in Western society. They are, and if you look at the statistics, there are massive. Millennial and Gen Z women are the first group of women since the silent generation. So the parents of the baby boomers, they are the first generation since the silent generation, which are people born in 1928, to have to be experiencing a lower quality of life. So their well-being is lower, their lifespan is shorter than people born in 1928. This should be a massive wake-up call. They're experiencing significantly higher rates of loneliness, even though they're strong and dependent, don't need no man. This is what's happening with these women, and they can't take care of themselves. This is something from God, man. They're creating their own living nightmare. I mean, most women cannot clean, they cannot cook, they're living off, they're basically living these very difficult lives in some ways, unless they're spending, buying things on credit, or spending everything they earn, or almost every other thing they earn, on rent and food. And as men are now walking away, and because those dates, the guys that are still dating them, all the Sims are going to basically transition over to Only Fools and Lonely Fans, and that's the only way that they're going to make any money. And these women don't understand that this is not really a lot of money, and they're selling out they're selling their futures for a couple dollars, for $9.99 a month. Even if they make $3,000 or even $5,000 or $10,000 a month, that's not indefinite. And eventually that money's going to run out, and when they do that, they won't be able to transition back to the normal world, because once you do that, companies are using software to track down anyone who's worked on these platforms, and they're going to start asking, have you ever been on Only Fools or Lonely Fans? And of course, there are going to be women who try to sue, like to say things like, "Oh, that's none of your business. You have no business asking me that." Yeah, we do, because that platform our similar platforms are literally tied to things like trafficking and money laundering, and just a bunch of nefarious other things. So yeah, it's really this it's so over for women in many ways, and you're gonna watch men just flowing out of the country. I mean, Dave, this is really it.
Yeah, exactly. What we need is, I think one thing companies should be doing is, to protect themselves, is not only should men be leaving the country, but the companies should be leaving the country. So we need a new movement of passport companies. Take your company, just like the guy said from Africa. Most other countries are not tolerating what America is tolerating. So take your company to another country and be successful somewhere else. Invest in another country, make that country a better place, and be profitable there. And the same thing for the doctors too. These doctors in the West, they're definitely going to be coming after you doctors, because obviously you're a doctor, you're making a lot of money, and as a doctor, you have to touch people inappropriately. That's part of your job, right? Like, doctors have to, they put their hands on your body to feel, to see what's wrong with you. There's no avoiding it. You can't diagnose somebody without, checking their vitals and, touching their private parts sometimes, if you're a gynecologist or something, or you're OBGYN.
Well, here's the thing about that, dude. It's not even just limited to that. For example, I was having stomach issues many years ago, and my doctor, she had to touch my stomach. And I joked with her. I said, I said to her, don't, I said to her, don't molest me. And of course, that was just a joke. But in all seriousness, you're absolutely right. Like that, and that's what's going to happen. Like, what are these guys? What many doctors do now is, whenever they have a female patient, if they have to touch them, they have a nurse in the room and so forth. But these women, they'll sue the nurse and the doctor. They'll sue them all. They'll say the nurse stood by and allowed the doctor to do it.
Exactly. And I mean, that's why even sometimes they ask you if you want a male doctor or a female doctor. But at this point, I don't even know if it's going to matter, because they might say, hey, I think that doctor was a lesbian and she felt my breast up for a little too long. How are they going to check for breast cancer and stuff like that? Like, you have to touch your patient. So,
You know what's crazy? This girl told me a story. She had something with one. She was like, I don't remember how old she was, but it was a number of years ago. And I think this may have been after hashtag M2. And she told me this. She said that she went to the doctor, and because she was having some pain in her stomach, and it was hurting really bad. She didn't know what was causing it. She went to the doctor, and she said that she needed to see, they did tests and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And finally they said that, okay, you know what, you need to see a gynecologist. Maybe there's something wrong there. And there was only one gynecologist available. And you know what this and it was and you know what this it was a man. And the female gynecologist, she wasn't there. She was not there at the time. And the male gynecologist refused to help this woman. He refused. She was a young woman. She was maybe like 18, 19. She was young at the time. She's still young. And the male doctor, he refused. I've never heard of this one. He refused to help her. He said that the women I deal with are old women. I only deal with old women. I don't deal with young women. And he refused to help her. And she laid there crying and screaming in pain for like hours until he finally said, okay, fine, I'll check you. And he checked her and he found out that something that was one of her ovaries was like something happened to one of her ovaries and it needed to come out immediately. But he let her lay there for hours in pain, and they could not find anyone else because it happened like late at night, and that was it. And this is the reality that women are going to find now, where they need help, and there's going to be men who literally turn them away. They turn away from them. They say, nope, not me. I spent hundreds of thousands. I spent $500,000. I spent $1 million to get this education. I'm still paying it back. You think you're going to destroy my life? Oh, come again. Like the hostility and the indifference. Women have this one thing that women have never experienced. They have never experienced indifference from men on a wide scale. And what they're going to experience right now is going to be indifference from men on a wide scale, where men are going to show women complete and utter indifference. The point you made about companies going overseas, I thought about that, and that is so true. A lot of these companies are just going to take the jobs overseas. You're 100% right, because they're going to say it's too expensive to do business here. Guess what? You have all these people in the Philippines who can speak English. You have people in Africa who can speak English. You have people in India who can speak English. You may not like the accents, but guess what? People are just going to have to deal with it anyway, because it's costing us way too much. And like I said, the Philippines, that's an interesting one, because those people are like, they're essentially native English speakers in the Philippines. So a lot of that work is going to go to the Philippines. You have native English speakers over there. You have people who have the same educational level as the United States. So they're going to send all those jobs over there. And these are the jobs that women predominantly do in Western society. And the men don't need a lot to survive. Someone said it in my comments, a guy could survive and thrive on $22,000 a year in the US. And they honestly can. If you don't have a family, if you as a man don't have a family, don't have a plan on having a family, you don't have wife and children, you can get yourself a camp, get a piece of land, get a camper, live in the camper, and you are happy you are extremely happy. You have no bills, no expenses. You get yourself, a lot of these dudes, gaming PC, video games, men don't need a lot. There's a lot of dudes that are happy with a PC and a Nintendo Switch, a nice laptop and a Nintendo Switch. They live out of their backpack. So many dudes literally live out of a backpack. They have, like, some dude sent me like this thing. Like, he's like, I have 3 shirts. No, like, I have 4 shirts, 2 jeans, 3 pairs of socks, and he just listed everything that he has in his backpack that he has. I have a laptop, I have a tablet. And he said that, and he goes like, I can move, I can take off, I can be fully packed and gone in 30 minutes. And I've done it many times. 30 minutes, within 30 minutes, he can be out, gone completely. And that's how a lot of men are going to be living. They're going to be literally able to live out of a backpack, where they pick up and be gone in a heartbeat. And a lot of dudes will live happily and comfortably like this, because, as I said, for example, these are just one-time purchases for us. We can have our cell phones, everything. These are very minimal things. These are cheap things, because we usually just purchase them once or twice here and there, and we'll insure. You put insurance on your phones. Put an insurance plan on your phones, or you have what do you call it, renters insurance or whatever. Travelers, whatever. You insure all your stuff. Everything you lose in your backpack is covered by insurance. A lot of guys will have that insurance on there. They'll pay their insurance, even if it's $1,000 a year. And so it won't be $1,000 a year. It'll be much less than $1,000 a year. But even if it was $1,000 a year, considering that they don't have any other real expenses, they'll pay that $1,000 a year. They lose everything in their backpack. They won't even cry. Some dude, oh, I lost my backpack. Everything I owned was in my backpack. Oh well. The insurance company is just going to replace everything, and I'm just going to upgrade. So it's time to. It was just God telling me it's time to upgrade. And this is how men will live. Men will live easily, happily, and thrive. And there's not, and it's going to change the focus of men in society. No more buying fancy cars to impress women. A lot of men won't buy cars anymore. If they do buy a car, it'll be a clunker, a hoopty that'll get them from point A to point B. Men, and if they want a woman, men will fly out of the country. Men will only stay in America to work in America. And when they do work in America, it will be in places where they're not going to have as much interaction with women. They'll get their money and they will leave, and they will save as much money as they possibly can, but they will not be spending it in the American economy. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's what was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, you don't even need insurance to replace all your stuff. I mean, like your computer, your phone, your Switch, what is that, about maybe $2,500? I wouldn't even waste the money on the insurance. I would just be like, whatever, I'm just going to pay the $25 to buy new, upgraded everything. But yes, men do not need a lot to survive. Even with me, like, sometimes I think about going to buy some new clothes, and then I'm like, I don't even wear the clothes I have. Like, I wear like the same 5 shirts every week, and I have like 30 shirts in my drawer. So why am I going to buy another one? So we need passport companies. Companies need to get out of the States, and we also need passport doctors. If you're a doctor, start considering about practicing outside of the country. Join Doctors Without Borders. There's a lot of countries, especially in the Philippines. The Philippines, has a lot of good doctors, but there is a need for more doctors. So there's always going to be a need for doctors in any country in the world you go to. So I would highly advise, if you're a doctor, start thinking about practicing outside of the country if you can. I know there's different rules and regulations you have to follow, and you might have to go get some more education for that country, whatever that country requires. But I don't think another country is going to require too much from you if you're already have your American degree. I think that's very highly valued around the world. So if you're a doctor, I would definitely recommend getting out. And yes, you're going to make less money, but your quality of life is still going to be really, really high if you're a doctor. And you're just not going to be as stressed out. You can make your own schedule here. Like in the Philippines, the doctors make their own schedules. They work when they want. Like I literally have a doctor that works like 1 hour a day at the hospital. My neurologist works from like 2 to 3 in the afternoon. And so you make your own schedule. You're not stressed out. You're not working overtime if you don't want to. So yeah, we need passport doctors. Are you still there? Did I lose you?
Am I still here? Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Yeah,
you're here. Also, I wanted to talk.
Go ahead.
I wanted to talk about to go back to the loneliness epidemic that the women are facing, because I did a video about it too, and it actually causes a lot of health problems that women don't realize. And this is like an article that I did a video on from the CDC, the Center of Disease Control, talks about the problems that loneliness causes. Loneliness increases heart disease, it increases stroke, it increases type 2 diabetes. Obviously, it increases depression and anxiety, which leads to addiction and substance abuse. It increases self-deletion and self-harm. It increases dementia and early death. And there's even percentages for this. So social isolation increases the risk of dementia by 50%. This is from the CDC, by the way, .gov. This is official government website statistics here. It increases heart disease by 29%, and it increases stroke by 32%. So this is why these women are dying so much earlier and faster, because loneliness is literally killing them. I just wanted to talk about that because I did a video about it before already too. So this is the future that women have to deal with, the health problems they're going to be dealing with in the future as a result of their loneliness.
It's crazy that you mentioned the loneliness, but something very intriguing about this. There's a lot of women who say make videos like I have no friends, or I'm but I have no friends. Like they try to portray themselves as being alone, but these women aren't alone. They're just looking for attention, putting these videos on YouTube, putting these videos on TikTok, and then you go to their Instagram and there's only bikini pictures. And what they're really doing is they're just advertising. They're just shopping for new boyfriends and attention, are trying to get guys to go over to their lonely fans or only fools page. The truth of the matter is that these women constantly hook up with with guys that they're not actually interested in. So they'll go from guy to guy to guy to guy to guy, and then say that everybody's alone sometimes. Like I'm alone right now. And that's an absolute lie. I know so many women that say that they have no friends, and then I'll hit them up and I'm like, where are you? Oh, I'm at a barbecue right now with these people. They just invited me. I'm like, wait, you say that you're always alone and you have no friends. Oh yeah, but you see, women have lots of close people. They have lots of friends, but they have very few close friends. And so they'll say that they have no friends when in reality, they don't actually know what it means to actually be alone, to go out in public and no one speaks to you. In fact, people look at you with scorn, or they move away from you. Like women are going to experience it in droves right now, getting onto a subway, sitting down next to a guy, and the guy just gets up and walks away. Like it's going to be such an amazing thing. And at first, a lot of women are going to act like, oh, I love it, it's so great, it's so wonderful, and just won't talk to them, or men won't come. Something happens. Like New York is like a cesspool right now. It's been a cesspool for a long time, but it's a real cesspool right now with all the things that are happening in the city. And you hear about things like in the subways and the crime. And men are not going to run to their aid anymore. Men are not going to run and say, okay, they're going to see something happening, let me go and save the princess. It's not going to happen. Guys are going to literally move away from anything that's happening. They're going to avoid it instinctually, because that's basically men learning and adapting, changing with modern times. Like the instinct to help a woman is going to shift to, I'm going to protect myself because this woman is putting me at my survival at risk. It's going to be crazy. And of course, I've said this before and I said it again. I said this years ago. Women will say feminism got us everything that we wanted. Now let's fight it together. Because after this thing has run wild, and men are no longer, like, this is going to be years out. Like when this happens, it's going to be years out, because after all, like the effects of M2 part 2 are really felt. You're going to have women literally saying that men and women need to come together again. This is when, like, you have lots of women now living in destitution, and society is completely fragmented. And the crazy thing is, M2 part 2 is going to rage for years. It is going to rage. It's going to rage for a long time, and it's going to be like bleeps where it's going to die down and then come back, because this is how women are going to survive. Like they're going, like any opportunity they get to sue, they're going to, and that's why companies are going to change so much that it's going to put women in positions of almost social isolation, where they're almost working by themselves or away from men. It's going to be very hard to even talk to men anymore. For example, if you're working in a company and collaborating with men, there's not going to be this thing where you can just go and speak to the guy. No, you need to send an email over to him, and it needs to go through and it may even need to go through a chain, because like it has to be reviewed by HR, and some maybe even like it doesn't even go straight to him. The HR has to review it first, and all of this stuff is definitely going to be reviewed by AI. This is something women don't understand. Like they're literally ushering in 1984, where now people will be under surveillance 24/7 using AI, literally using AI. They will be under surveillance 24/7 using AI. Their conversations will be monitored. Their everything that they do will be monitored. Their facial expressions will be monitored. You know how many times they go to the bathroom will be monitored. It literally everything they do will be now be monitored and recorded. And if a woman says anything, the companies will basically pull this up and pull that up, and those are just the women who will still actually have jobs. Because this thing M2 is only going to further accelerate the push to to replace women with AI. And of course, women don't seem to comprehend that the people who spend the money to make these movies, make video games, are the companies, McDonald's, everything runs on men. All of these companies were built by men. They're still owned by men. They're still they're still kept afloat by men. You know, if at the very lowest echelons of many of these companies, who are holding them up? Men. But with men now walking away, many of those doors will be shut forever for women, and a lot of these women are now heading into their 40s and 50s and even 60s, and they can't do the whole boss babe thing anymore. So basically they're hitting their biological clock right now. Come 2030, 45% of all women between the ages of 25 and 44 will be childless and single. I mean, women, within 10 years, within 10 years, people are going to say, how did American women, Western women in general, but especially American women, end up in the terrible condition that they are? Because it's going to be it's literally going to be like the effects of Fallout. I don't know if you ever played the game Fallout, but it's going to be literally like Fallout, like after the events of the nukes, when the nukes occurred, and society was basically wiped out. That's how it's going to be for women. Like they're literally going to be the level of destitution that women are going to fall into. It's going to look like something like the West, where women are just like homeless, just living in destitute conditions, and the men are walking away. And the more they try to tax the men, the more the men cut their hours back. Men will find any possible way not to give their money to women. I made a video that was literally titled that men will live in a box before they give their money to women. And that is the honest to goodness truth. That is really where it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, women are just incapable of thinking long term, so they don't see the effects that it's going to have on them. And also, like, yeah, within 2030, which is like what, 6 years from now, 45% of women single and childless is just, that's insane to think about, because like that's almost 50% of your population that's not having children. So these women that are about to turn 62 years old and they're thinking, oh, I'm just going to live off my social security, they're not going to get no social security. And if they do, it's going to be such a small amount that it's not going to be a livable amount. So how are these women going to survive? I mean, I know we joke about Tent City, but Tent City is a very serious possibility for a lot of these women.
The funny thing about Tent City is that people think that, oh well, if we keep Trump out, then there's none of these things are going to happen. These things are going to happen regardless if he's there or not. The irony is that when the left does it, they're going to say that, oh, it's wonderful, this is incredible, there's giving them a fresh start, they're providing them with homes and food. Zeta Powell said it's the rise of socialism. And guys, and we've been told this for years, you will own nothing and be happy.
Yeah. Let me see. I was looking up something real quick about the presidential. What is that? Oh, Nikki Haley. Okay. Speaking of Trump being president, it's looking like they're trying really, really. I don't know if we're allowed to even talk about this on YouTube without getting striked or something, but I think Colorado just voted to remove Trump from the ballot. So the Supreme Court of Colorado just voted to remove Trump from the presidential ballot. So my prediction is, I've been watching the debates, and it's looking like I'm going to say Nikki Haley has a really good chance of becoming president of the United States, which would make her the first female president of the United States. Just because her competition is no, that's why they don't want Trump to win, because there's just no competition. No one can compete with him. He's an automatic landslide. But if he is removed or for whatever reason not allowed to run, I think Nikki Haley is going to be the next runner up. She literally has no competition. I mean, they got Christie, what's his name? Christie, who is literally a crackhead that everyone forgot about. Like, literally everyone forgot that he was in the news for like weeks for smoking crack, and now he's running for president. I mean,
uh, Chris Christie, dude, no, well, Hunter Biden is the one who smoked that illicit substance. Let's not use that word again. But
oh, okay.
Hunter Biden is the one who used that illicit substance. But are you sure Chris Christie didn't use that? Did he?
I'm pretty sure a few years ago there was a lot of news about him being on some substances, and that's why I mean, I can look it up and fact check myself, but I distinctly remember him being in the news for some kind of drug use.
Damn, you're not wrong. Actually, I just googled it from 2017 for Governor Christie. The battle against opioid addiction is personal. Chris Christie drug addiction, and okay, so yeah, it looks like this guy was addicted to something.
And
Oh
now
my
and,
gosh.
and now he's running for president. So
Dude, I really thought you were talking about Hunter. I was like so sure, like, no, 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 you mean Hunter. Hunter, he's the one that had the pipe. But no,
I
yeah.
mean, hey, if Chris Christie can run, so can Hunter. I mean, at this point, might it might as well.
Oh my god. Could you imagine Hunter running instead of his father because his father can't? You really? I don't think that Nikki Haley can beat Joe Biden. I don't think that she can beat no Joe Biden.
Anybody can beat Joe Biden at this point. Nobody, even Democrats don't want Joe Biden anymore.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but think about it very carefully. Who's gonna vote? Who's actually going to go out and vote for Nikki Haley?
I don't even think Joe Biden wants to be president anymore. That guy wants to go to sleep and he wants to go live on a farm and take naps. And I think he's exhausted. He doesn't want to be president anymore either.
The truth is that you have to understand in this situation, presidents are selected, not elected right now. They'll do, and they're gonna push whoever they want to push into office. It's not that Trump would not win; it's just that he now cannot win because they're going to do everything in their power to keep him out of office.
Well, the thing about Trump is I think there's like a deep state that actually does want Trump to be president because with everything that we're talking about right now with the M2 and the population decline and women not having 45% of women not having children by the year 2030, they need those women to start to be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, and they need an enemy that they can point their finger to, and Trump is the perfect target for that. If they make Trump president and then they use Trump to institute all this, try to reverse all the feminism stuff and all the laws, like they're already starting to do slowly with Florida. Florida no longer has lifetime alimony. Tennessee has mandatory paternity tests now. And there's even some rumors about Texas getting rid of no fault divorce. So they're slowly trying to reverse all this stuff to try and provoke men, or basically trick men back to the plantation to get these women pregnant again, which isn't going to work, but at least they're trying to do something. What they need is they need a man like Trump so when the women start getting all upset about it, they can say, oh, it's Trump's fault. But they really want to do all that. They really want to implement all these changes to try and reverse the damage that they've done to get the population back up. But they need a scapegoat, and Trump is that perfect scapegoat for them to blame everything on, even though they really want to pass all these new laws to try and do a 180, which is why I think there's a deep state that actually needs Trump to be president.
Pitmaster says they're gonna give it to Kamala. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's. I don't. I honestly, you say you think that they're trying to, they need Trump. Honestly, I think that this is they don't really care. I think that really what the ultimate goal for this for everything it's a concept that called extinctionism, and I think that's the ultimate goal. I think that the people who are doing this, they absolutely despise humanity as a whole, and they want to bring humanity to an end. And just quick shout out to Derek Marie. Shout out to Derek Marie.
Yeah, I still think Trump is still the number one candidate for 2024. But in any event that for whatever reason he's not allowed to run, I my prediction is Nikki Haley. That's just my prediction. I could be wrong. So
First woman president. I mean, unless she is selected, I don't see anyone going out to vote for her. I wouldn't vote for her. No one's energized for her. And then that kid, the young Indian guy, he's look. Honestly, it seems like he's really just positioning himself to be Trump's running mate at this point. I honestly think that's what he's trying to do
mm,
because it's definitely not going to be Pence this time.
oh no, no, no.
Well,
Let's go back to talk about. I made some notes of things to talk about because we were talking really fast. We skipped over some things. I wanted to talk about the gyms again because you were talking about they're going to start trying to record men at the gym, which they're already doing. But however, I was reading that Morgan Stanley was talking about not investing in gyms anymore because of that specific thing. Because the male gym membership is down like 60%. So gyms are losing so much money that Morgan Stanley is advising not to invest in gyms anymore. Simply because women are destroying the gym industry completely.
they are destroying the gym industry completely, but it's going to, like I said, we're literally in the pre-game show right now. They're going to destroy almost every industry. It's going to be so hard. What you said is absolutely correct. Companies are going to begin moving overseas as a result of Me Too Part Two, M2 Part Two. It is going to literally be like that. Let me see what Harden said. Crazy Mayumi wasn't here tonight. Keep Trump off state ballots won't prevent him from getting elected. If enough citizens want Trump, want to vote for him, because all voting ballots, one can easily always write in someone of their choice. This is true. This is true, but at the same time, they can also choose not to recognize those votes. Maybe that's what I suspect, because they'll turn around and say that this person is invalid to hold the office, so we're going to disregard those write-ins anyway. I'm pretty sure that's what they would do. So even if they try to write him in because he's been taken off the ballot, they'll still, even if people write him in, they'll basically say that these ballots are not valid because he is not eligible to run for president to run for president. It's gonna be insane stuff. It's gonna be all over the place. But and in the end, I really do not see any future for the Western society, and Trump cannot save us. Even if Trump were to get back in office, even if he were to go back in, it's basically like trying to put a band-aid on a gaping wound at this point. It's not going to. There's too much that needs to be done. He would only be able to stand there for one term. I thought would be two because he wasn't in there for two consecutive terms. But evidently, a president can only be president for 2 terms. Period. So he cannot stand there for more than one term. He'd only be in there for 4 years at best, and then it'd be the same problem all over again. So we're basically, no matter what we do at this point, Trump might slow it down, but it's no matter what we do at this point, we're going in this direction, in this socialist dystopic direction. Either way, no one can really stop it at this point. Only Jesus Christ, and I don't see it. I don't see like God stopping these things. It's going to be growing pains, and it's going to literally reshape Western society as a whole entirely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is just the state of Colorado, so I'm pretty sure the United States Supreme Court will overthrow Colorado's ruling. It's just another thing to get in the news to just paint Trump in a bad light. That's all it is.
After these women, after they do what they're doing, like after everything goes south for them, I've been warning men for years, for a long time now. Stay out of the church. All of these women are going to become born again Christians. And this is why I say, guys, stay out of the church, because these women are going. They're going to go after the church as well. They're going to go after the church as well. They're going to go after the church. They're going to say there were problems. There've been problems in the church for many years. There's been issues that have been plaguing the church regarding assault, and these women are going to start suing the church. They're going to go after all the Christian churches. It's going to be massive, absolutely massive.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that. I can't wait. I can't wait. I don't. That's a terrible thing that's gonna happen. But can you imagine when Joel Osteen makes news and he's getting HM2'd? That's
Yeah,
gonna be crazy.
no, absolutely. And for example, how many women did he touch when he prayed with them?
Exactly. I mean, you gotta, sometimes you pray, you hold hands or you put your hand on their shoulder, or a lot of these pastors will say, like, if you're sick, like, tell me if you're having stomach issues, and they'll put their hand on their stomach and pray for them. And so there you go again. It's the same situation with the doctors. It's like, these pastors are going to be in trouble too. I didn't even think about that. You're on the next level here. These
It's
mega churches are going to be in trouble.
they're coming for that money. They're coming for that money, and they're gonna go. These women are gonna go hard because they have bills to pay, and they're gonna be eating. They're gonna eat as much as they can. They're gonna take as much as they can, and it's gonna be at the same time. These, not only are they gonna be doing this, but as more men are walking away from society, pulling away, you're gonna have these women still trying to target men for relationships in these churches, and it's gonna clear a lot of dudes. This is gonna be the final straw for a lot of men. You're gonna see more and more guys holding, holding sermon, having a little thing at home. Guys are already building their own home gyms, and this is I have one thing that I know a guy who he would literally have like a Bible session every Wednesday with like a pastor and other men, like over Zoom, and over Zoom or Skype, and that's what's going to happen. I think with Zoom, and that's what's going to end up happening. You're going to have these guys literally getting together and holding service over remotely over a laptop, and and there may not be any women there, just because they're going to be very careful. Like this, like we're heading towards a very separated society where there's going to be basically women on one side, and like very few men on the other, because most men are just going to be basically in like going, yeah, like staying inside, not going into spaces where women are, or doing, men are going to shop online. Men are going to spend most of their time at home if they want to, or they're going to buy a piece of land and go out into nature. You're going to have a lot of dudes doing that, going out into nature, going into the woods. Some dudes are already moving into the woods and living in the woods. And you're also going to have you're going to have, and of course, more so is are men that are just flying out of the country. I already said that a lot of dudes will have a house, have a rent out an entire house for like $150, $200 a month. That's a lot in another country, and they'll just fly out of the country and head to their home fully furnished, and and go over there, and they'll talk to women over there. They'll have relationships over there. A lot of them will go to the red light district over there, but they're not going to be dealing with Western women anymore. It is going to be the darkest era, the darkest age. It's going to be a dark, not a, I shouldn't even, it's not going to be an era. Forget about an era. It's going to be an age, because this thing is going to last. Like it's not going to be resolved in our lifetime. Like like, even if me and you live another 40 years, it will not be 40, 50 years. This thing will not be resolved in 50 years. This is something that will, it will take 100 or a couple of 100 years for Western side, for like the previous generations to pass away, and major cultural shifts and demographic shifts to happen, for something to possibly happen, possibly change. But it's not gonna, not in our lifetime. It's only going to grow stronger and stronger, and it's going to be amazing when women experience an extreme type of loneliness because they don't know what it really means to be lonely. They can always call up any guy and have a guy come and see them. But with this
Hmm.
happening, better, all of those guys that are in their DMs, because this is another thing, they're going to be going after guys that go into their DMs. These women are going to be going after guys that message them on dating profiles. So this is a lot of it's going to be online. A lot of M2 Part 2 is not just going to be public, it's going to be online. They're going to be going after tons of men. They're going to go after guys who give them money on OF. They're going to go after tons of guys who message them on Instagram because these guys, their profiles are public. Their pictures are on these profiles. So they're going to say, oh, look at these terrible messages that this person sent me. They're going to go after Meta. They're going to go after Meta, the parent company of these social media companies. They're going to go after social media companies. They're going to sue social media companies for them being harassed on these platforms. They're going to go after everyone and anyone they can. And it's going to just result in more men isolating themselves from even speaking to women, from having relationships. It's going to it's going to fracture every fiber of society. There will be no stone, no rock, nothing left unturned where women will not go after men if they can. But it's going to be they're really going to go after men in online spaces, and they're going to go after these companies. And it's like you're going to have like all these women, millions of women banding together to sue Microsoft because they felt they felt that they were treated unfairly, and they experienced extraordinary discrimination in an online environment over games. And I said millions, but it'll still be women. They're gonna go after every avenue. They're gonna literally get together, sit together, and plan it out. Like, who can we go after to make this money?
Uh-huh. See, Dalek says America survived the Great Depression, Dust Bowl, World War One, World War Two, polio, and we will survive. I just want to say, like, I'm not completely black pill either. I do believe that there is hope, but the hope comes from ultimately the pimp daddy government is the only one that can make the changes necessary to get women back, you know, under control. Hopefully, the government still has enough power to control the monster they created and hopefully tame that beast. Because really, at the end of the day, the government is the husband of all the Western women, and the women do what their pimp daddy government says. So when it all of this stops when the government decides it's time to stop it.
The government won't decide to stop it. There's a saying, never let a good crisis go to waste. The government will actually the government is ecstatic. They will be absolutely ecstatic for M2 Part 2. The government hates humanity. So they're going to see this and they're going to say, okay, well, we can use this to now do all of the things that we want to do, and we can use it as while this is a distraction, we can use it to implement policies we wanted to implement for years, take away rights, civil rights, human rights that we've wanted to take away for years. This is how they're gonna operate. They love this. They don't care. They don't care about the general. They don't care about men. They don't care about society. They don't care about any of these things because as long as they get their money, that's it. And at the end of the day, their ultimate goal is they want human life to no longer exist on this planet. So that works out for them. They really do not care at all. This thing that's going to happen, they are going to be ecstatic about it. And they're not they do not care about people. They do not care about humanity. They want humanity gone. The government is going to completely thrive off M2. They're going to use it as a means of passing more oppressive laws and policies that are going to further take away our freedoms, and even censor our ability to speak. For example, like I said, they're going to be going after women are going to be going after guys in online spaces, and the government is going to use that as a means of going after social media companies to put in proper policies to limit the limit potential what they call online abuse or grape in cyberspace. And with the metaverse coming, Mark Zuckerberg, he is an evil genius because the metaverse was never intended for me or you. The metaverse was not intended for me. It was not intended for you. It was not intended for Gen X or even for the millennials more so. It was intended for Gen Z, and more so than Gen Z, Gen Alpha and Gen Beta. The primary target for the metaverse is actually Gen Alpha and the generation that comes after them, Gen Beta, because Gen Alpha has lived so much of their lives in the online world. They were born into a world where there has always been smartphones and tablets. they spend their entire lives on smartphones and tablets. I refer to Gen Z as a group of iPad kids terrorizing society, but with Gen Alpha, they do not know a world. There is no world that exists for them where there was not smartphones and there were not tablets. As a result of that, they're going to jump into the metaverse, they're gonna get them in there using Fortnite and all this other crap. They're gonna go into the metaverse with the headsets, and a lot of these headsets, what people don't understand, especially with generative AI right now, you have video games that you can control using your mind, because these things, like, they can scan your brain waves. And I've seen it. Maybe I'll make a video about it. And you can literally move it. You can move it. You can control your character, and it's only going to get more and more refined. And eventually, we're heading towards a point where it's going to be like a series called Star Ocean Online, an anime called Star Ocean Online, where you're essentially in the game, you're moving, you're living, you feel like you're physically there. And that's how these people are going to live. They're going to spend most of their time in the metaverse. And there's going to be a term for them. People that basically become fried because they spend all their time in the metaverse. They're going to call them met heads, right? And and it's going to be pretty terrible. It's going to be extremely terrible. But that's how it's going to go down. And then the generation after them, Gen Beta. When we see the Matrix, and we see, like, people who spend their entire lives in the Matrix, like, that's basically Gen Beta, the generation after Gen Alpha. They're going to live there. These are people who will be born into a world. Gen Beta will be the first generation to be born into a world where the metaverse has always existed, where this has always existed, just like how they were born into a world where cell phones have always existed. Gen Alpha was born into a world where smartphones have always existed, and they grew up with these since they were toddlers. Gen Gen Beta, which will be born in they're going to start being born in the next couple of years. This group will be born into a world where where smartphone where the metaverse has always existed. And I'm telling you right now, you're going to have it. These companies are going to have these virtual reality headsets. They'll probably come up with another name for them. Like call it something like alternate reality. Like how we have augmented reality, because VR sounds so stupid. Like they'll call it something like alternate reality, because it's just an alternate state of reality. That's how they're going to position it. And you're going to have headsets for these kids, and they're going to put them on, and they're going to, it's going to analyze their brain waves, and they're going to basically start moving around in VR and doing different things in this alternate reality, even as little children. And it's going to create serious problems cognitively, because they're going to naturally deviate towards this alternate reality, and they're going to feel more comfortable in this alternate reality than in the real world, than in the real world. And of course, they're going to push to build, environments around this, so that they can spend all their time in this reality, work in this reality, go to class, because that's how they're going to operate. They're always going to be there. The way that they even listen to music is like, we listen to songs. They're going to experience things differently, because they're going to go into this reality. If they want to watch movies, they're going to watch them in this reality. If they want to interact with others, they're going to do it in this reality. There was a movie back in the 90s, I think it was called Demolition Man, with Wesley Snipes. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah.
In the movie, do you remember, like, I don't remember I don't remember the key actor in that movie. If it was Sylvester Stallone, it was some guy. And the interesting thing is that there's a scene in the movie where he's working as a cop now in the future, because he gets sent to jail, and then in the past, in the 90s, and they basically freeze him, put him on ice, and he basically doesn't age. And now he's in the future, and he becomes a cop again in the future, and he's like partnered with this chick. And she basically asked him if he wanted to hook up, and he goes, yeah, sure, why not? And she gives him like a headset, and they put on, like, he's like wearing a headset, she's wearing a headset, and they're basically like hooking up in virtual, in like alternate reality. And he takes it off. He's like, what the hell is that? And she's like, that's how we do it. And he's like, no, I thought you meant, like, the normal way. And she goes, what? Ew. That's exactly where it's going. That's what Gen Beta is going to be like. Like everything is going to be there. They're going to literally, even their experiences, physical, intimate experiences, are going to be in this alternate reality. And a lot of them are not even going to be with things that look even remotely like a woman. They're going to be doing it with like anime doll, like anime anime images and cartoon characters
The
and like
furries.
oh my gosh, are the furries dreams? Are the dreams of the furries ever coming true? My gosh, with this thing,
Let's not. I don't judge. I don't judge the furries.
you know, just oh my god, I judged them. Oh my, like literally, there was this like there was like a news reporter, and like they told her what the furries were, and she literally got up and ran out of the studio years ago. She's like, oh my, what? They're what? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Oh,
I mean, it's just an evolution of like a girl with bunny ears and a little tail. It just
no,
evolved.
nah, bro. Nah, no, bro. No. Those guys, listen, and they're so vile too. They're so vile. Like, we have the LGBTQ community, and it wouldn't shock me if like they added them onto that because like they want representation and they want respect.
And they go to work in their furry costume.
Bro, respect their pronouns. Respect their pronouns. Like, could you imagine my pronouns are bird and ostrich?
I'm a fox today.
My gosh. Jesus, the society is really degrading, and it's gonna be. Women don't understand that they've sealed their fate, and they don't care because all they want is to get their bag, and they don't comprehend that they're trading. They've literally traded their fate. It was already over after M2, the first part one of M2. It was already over. It was because this is something that was inevitable. But what M2 Part Two is going to do is it's going to put everything on steroids. It's going to accelerate men completely just moving out of society. And as all of this is happening, you're going to hear women saying the same exact nonsense. Why can't men just be decent human beings? Parents, you need to talk to your sons. We can't do this anymore. We need to have classes in schools. And this is, oh my gosh, guys, this is when they're really going to take over the schools now, because now these poor children are going to have to sit through lectures going from kindergarten. They're going to want to start. They're going to want to start in pre-K and nursery school. They're going to say we need to, because it's going to be the level of indoctrination is going to be so significant and so profound. It's going to be massive. They're going to invade the schools more than they've ever before, and they're going to use anger and outrage to get their way.
Hmm. Yeah, no, like I said, the tradcons are already basically the biggest enemy of the crimson pills, because a lot of these channels are coming out now talking about how the manosphere is basically just like giving these young as a bad influence for these young men and all this stuff, and they just need to fall. Even Matt Walsh, that video that I sent you, Matt Walsh basically at the end of that video said like, oh well, the system's not going to change overnight, and it's going to take years to change the system, and we acknowledge that there's problems, but you still basically need to fall on the sword and get married.
Yeah,
So
these trad cons are terrible people. I cannot stand the trad
it's
cons.
the male tradcons are actually worse than the female tradcons. They're the male like the female tradcons are basically just trying to pretend. They're just trying to cosplay to get men to come back to the plantation. But the male tradcons are like, they're basically women. Like they're really triggered by the manosphere, and like they're really upset about it. They're coming out hard against it.
Yeah, no, they
It's,
absolutely are, because it's bad for business. It's bad. It's the manosphere, specifically. Men walking away and passport kings. It's terrible for business, because if men start like leaving the country, the trad cons. These are some of the people, specifically the men and the women. They'll be pushing. These are the people that'll be in favor for things like travel bans and keeping and forcing men to stay inside of Western society, and punishing men punishing men, like, oh, you don't want to get married, no video games for you. You don't want to get married, no doing this for that, doing this or that for you. And it will get so bad, it will literally get so bad that it's not going to be just travel bans, dude. It's going to get so bad that you're going to have them saying things like, "Oh, we need to take, like, oh, you don't want to do this, you don't want to get married, you don't want to have relationships, you don't want to do." It's insanity. Okay, well, you know what? You can't go hunting. Oh, we're not going to allow you to go hunting. We're going to take away your ability to hunt. Like, they're going to go after things like that. They're going to become their real true nature is going to shine, and people are going to see just how oppressive they really are. And that's actually going to first. A lot of these people are Christians and pushing religion. And I've said this already. Like, Christianity has pushed so many people away from God, and it's only going, and it's going to be so profound when, as more people literally turn away and say, yeah, we don't want to have any part of this. Like, could you imagine, like, who would want to serve a God that condones this type of thing and that is pushing men to go and put themselves in this type of situation? Like, these guys, these people, like, they should be grateful that they cannot lose their salvation, because these are the same people that argue. These are the same people. The Tradcons are the same people, and we were talking about it. It was something that I had wanted to discuss with you. Remember previously that women are using the church to destroy the lives of men, but in addition to that, a lot of men don't understand the concept. A lot of people refuse to accept the concept that you cannot lose your salvation. I made a poll about it, and I said, like, discussing it, and people said that, like I said, that it's better to hate your neighbor than it is to hate God. And a lot of people disagreed with me. Like, almost half of the people disagreed with that statement. And there were people that a ton of people were vocal in the comments saying that, to hate your neighbor is to hate God. And I'm like, what? Are you insane? Or you cannot be saved. If you cannot be saved if you hate your neighbor, that's you lose your salvation. And it's like, and Jesus even said, I don't know if it was Jesus, but they said something like, Jesus even said that to hate your neighbor is an act, is equivalent to murder. And we talked about this, that what Jesus, that it says, like, in the Bible, that, like, God views all sins as the same, which means even the biggest sin as well as the smallest sin, they are all equal in the eyes of God. And so it's essentially impossible to not sin. And as a result of that, your salvation is always there. That is not tied to loving your fellow man. That's not tied to anything. The only way you can actually lose salvation is to reject it, and to continuously and consciously reject it over and over. Not even worshiping false gods can cause you to lose your salvation. Constantly rejecting God and consciously and doing it over and over. That is the only way you lose your salvation. And as I said, sin, God views all sin as equal. And I want you to talk about that.
Well, actually, we are born into sin as a result of the original sin. So this is the sins we commit throughout our lives are, once you've accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior and his sacrifice on the cross to cover your sin, then all of these sins, obviously you shouldn't sin. Sin is unhealthy, right? So a lot of Christians have a problem with this preaching that you can't lose your salvation, because they think that it gives you a license to keep sinning. And theoretically it does. You can sin as much as you want. However, physically it's not healthy for your body. Most of the time, the sins that we are committing are physically damaging our body, because the Bible does say that sin leads to death, physical death, like, alcoholism, drugs, things like that, those kinds of sins that we commit. Even, fornication, if you're sleeping around, you could catch some sort of disease, things like that. So in general, sin is just not physically healthy for you. So you should try to avoid it as much as possible. But that doesn't mean that you are going to be sinless. It's impossible to be sinless. If it were possible to be sinless, then there would be no need for Jesus to have died on the cross. So in essence, a lot of Christians basically are trying to make themselves God And secondly, they're trying to build their own way to God. Like they want to check off the boxes, you know, they want to say like, okay, I didn't do this today. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. I went to church 6 times a week. I prayed. I worshiped. I read one chapter of my Bible. And they just want to keep checking the boxes off because they think this is how they basically trying to make themselves self-righteous in the eyes of God, when really all they're doing is making themselves self-righteous in the eyes of other Christians and other men and other people at church. Because it's basically a social club. Modern Christianity is a social club. So things like, so when we talk about not losing your salvation, you're born into sin because of the original sin. It doesn't matter what you do. It's unavoidable. Once you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, God does not see your sin anymore. He only sees you through his Son, Jesus Christ, and the blood that covers all of your sin, which is what allows us to come into the presence, to have the confidence to come into God's presence, because we have our advocate, Jesus Christ, who's there for us, who basically vouches for us, who says, okay, you know, this is what I died for. This is what my blood is for. And God has to accept that covenant. He has to accept that. There's just certain, God even himself, he made a way for things to be possible that even he cannot break his promises. Like God cannot break his own promises. So this salvation through God, through Jesus' death and resurrection, is one of those things that not even God himself can break. So once you've accepted it, it's unbreakable. You cannot lose your salvation, and you can confidently be in the presence of God. So
What's interesting is that, go ahead.
The reason that Christians want to believe that, and not all Christians, but a majority of them, they want to believe in this argument that you can lose your salvation, is because their churches, their religions are operated through fear. Like they always want you to be in some kind. They don't want to fix your problem. They just want you to keep coming back to the church. Let's say you have marriage problems, whatever, you have financial problems. You know, they don't ever want to fully fix your problems. They just want you to keep coming back, and they're going to say, oh, we're going to pray for you and this and that, and, you know, go to marriage counseling and this and that. They kind of keep the problems going under the guise that they're helping you, but they're not actually really solving your problems, so that in order for you to keep coming back to the church. So you're dependent on the church. You're actually not dependent on God. You're dependent on the church. And that's what they want. That's why they operate through fear. This fear of losing your salvation.
I want to mention this. So, for example, regarding fear, I actually, made a poll saying that, people should revere God, not fear God. And there's so many people who disagreed with me that said you should fear him and revere him. You must fear him in all of his awe. And I said, no, you must never fear God. You should revere him, but you must never fear him, because this is the person, this is the being that you should always go to. Never have fear of going before him that you're going to punish. He will not punish you for anything. God doesn't. We punish ourselves more than God punishes us. God will allow us to suffer consequences for the things that we do. He won't take away our salvation, but if we keep sinning, we will suffer consequences. But we should always go before God. We should never have fear of God. He should be the only one that we do not fear, because he's the only one who will always be there for us. So we should, under no circumstance, should we have any kind of fear when we go before God. We should not go before God with any kind of fear at all. If there's anyone that we can lay things bare in front of, because he knows all, it is God. So if you go before God with fear, then you're not going, right off the bat, how can you have an honest relationship with someone that you have fear of? You must have zero fear inside of you when you step before God. You revere God, you respect God, but you must empty yourself of fear, because fear is not of God. Fear is of darkness. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the Bible, first of all, the Bible literally says, God says, I did not give you a spirit of fear. And secondly, the Bible says that you should come to the throne boldly and make your request known to God. So those are two scriptures there that basically support what you just said. Secondly, I think that the fear, so we have to understand that we still live in our flesh. So we live in our flesh, the flesh, and then there's the spirit. So the fear comes from the flesh, because that scripture that I just quoted, God said, I did not give you a spirit of fear. So your spirit is not fearful, but that doesn't mean that your flesh is still going to feel fear. So I think a lot of these Christians get it confused. They think that the fear that they're feeling, it's from their flesh. It's not from their spirit. So we have to overcome the fleshly fear, which is natural. Obviously, when you're dealing with supernatural uh, beings like God, I mean, it is natural to have a fear of it in our flesh. Like we're never going to be able to fully be able to comprehend it as we're still alive here on the earth in our flesh until we get into heaven, and we're no longer in this fleshly body. We're in the spirit. Then we're going to be completely fearless because there's nothing to be afraid of anymore. Right now, we're in the flesh. We have lots of fears. We fear, you know, being broke. We fear being hungry. We fear dying. We fear everything. But all that fear is in the flesh. It's not in the spirit that God gave us, because God says, I did not give you a spirit of fear. So we have to train our minds to discern between the spirit and the flesh, and basically remind yourself constantly when you do start to feel fear for whatever reason, remind yourself that I, as a child of God, am not supposed to be feeling this fear. And if I am feeling it, I need to overcome it, and I need to trust God, and I need to have more faith in God so that I don't have this fear. So yeah, you're not supposed to have fear, but your flesh will still experience fear.
When you think about the concept of fear and religion, you have to comprehend, and this is what I believe. You look at church, and the church is built upon fear, and they put fear inside of you, so that you're basically operating on what they tell you is allowed and what is not allowed. Oh, this is allowed, that is not allowed. Oh, you didn't pay your tithe, you should be afraid because now you're going to be punished. What about, how's the tithe money being spent? You're going to question God about this money? Wait, you're God, I'm a representative of God. you know this, and then even our parents that are out sinning, fornicating, doing terrible things, they, as children, they raise us, and they try to put the fear of God in us, to let us know that some supernatural being that we must obey was going to basically take our lives at any given moment, or allow us to be, allow us to fall into destitution, or be essentially cursed if we don't obey everything and anything that he says under the guidance of the church and our parents, or those who are the messengers of God. And it's literally a tool that has been used by different groups to control the minds of man in so many ways. If you really, and this is what I believe, that the fear of God in many ways is something that has been put inside of us by religion and by human beings, and not so much God himself. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, that's true. Almost every religion and every church that I've ever been to operates on some level of fear. And we also have to understand that the government is very involved in Western Christianity, and the proof of that is during the you know, the pandemic. What happened was the government told all the churches to shut down, and they did, which means the government is very much in control of these churches and what they do, and they're censored too. What they're allowed to say, what they're allowed to preach on, what they're not allowed to preach on, because they have that 501c3, that tax exempt contract. There is some fine print in there that says, you're not allowed to talk about these certain things, mostly regarding LGBT. They're not allowed to preach against that stuff. So, and most people don't know this. The average Christian does not know that churches sign these contracts with the government so they can get the tax-free exemption. And but once you sign that tax-free exemption 501c3, you have to do what the government tells you to do. And You know, the fact that all the churches shut down is proof that they are, you know, they're not really preaching the Bible. They're just doing what the government tells them to do.
So you're absolutely
So
right. Someone, you're saying
it's basically the government uses the government allows Christianity to exist as a basically a soft form of control. It's a soft fist of control of the people because people are more inclined to listen to their pastor than to the government, right? People trust their pastor, but they don't trust the government. So if the government says go get vaccinated, people are like, no, we don't trust you. We don't know what that is. But if the pastor says go and get vaccinated, well, they trust the pastor, so they're going to go get vaccinated. And it's actually there was actually some articles that came out that churches during that time were getting paid because you have to understand all those churches closed down. How did they survive? How did they reopen? They were getting money from the government. They were getting bailout from the government too. Also, even some churches were getting paid based on how many of their members were getting vaccinated
let's use the word jabbed.
or
Jabbed.
jabbed. Yeah. So we also have to understand in Western Christianity that the government is very much involved in the church and what the churches are doing or allowed to say and not say. There's a lot of censorship even within the church because of the government. So that's something to take into account as well with the Western churches.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, it's only going to get worse from here. People think that it's going to get better. I don't know. It's going. Someone said doctors got 40. Let me read. Let me put this on here. Michael said doctors got $40,000, 40K per 100 patients for jab scene. So basic. I don't know if that's true or not, but I will say that I know when I was living overseas that a lot of that was happening with the doctors. They were getting compensation based around the number of jabs and on cases, the number of cases that they saw and reported as they reported as being as a result of the thing that happened during that period of time, because they were definitely trying to like cook up the numbers, and a lot of that was definitely politically
Yeah.
politically inclined, motivated.
So what Michael is saying about the CCP is actually true. The U.S. is actually operating almost exactly as the CCP does. They're just pretending like they don't, but they actually are when it comes to religion in America.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think we're going to be wrapping up in a little bit. We've been going for almost 2 hours. Is there anything is there anything else you wanted to get off your chest?
Uh, get out while you still can. Get out before the travel bans. We don't know what's going to happen with this election next year. Obviously, we already know from history that they always plan some big thing before an election. So if you're planning on leaving the country, definitely do it as soon as possible before the travel bans come, because there are going to be travel bans. There's just too many people leaving, especially if you're wealthy, if you're in a position, if you have a high paying job, like if you're a doctor, an engineer, if you're in coding, if you're in STEM, you should be able to find a job in just about any other country and have a good quality life. Uh, so definitely get out while you still can.
Hmm.
So that's all I have to say is also, I mean, with this with Me Too ramping up again, uh, it's just one more reason to just get out. It's just too dangerous to be it's just too dangerous to be a man in the United States.
We did not talk a lot about Vin Diesel, and I'll wrap up here. But like I said, I was shocked, and I just want to know what just your insight very quickly before we go. Do you think this is going to put the franchise on hold? The fast franchise.
Let me see. I had the article up here. I know you had the article. Okay, I don't know. I guess I clicked off of it. Uh,
Uh,
the fast. I don't know. The franchise is just going to keep going and going. I mean, they're already like on 11, or what are they on? They're like 10 and 11 right now. So I don't think they're going to stop, but I think it is going to basically, the quality of the franchise is going to go down. I mean, I don't know. They haven't, this thing just started, so there hasn't been any mention of them basically dropping him from the franchise uh, yet. And also, the most important thing, I wanted to read the article, but I clicked off of it.
Is
But
is
from the
is
article,
is that is the one I have on the screen? Is that the article?
that's not the one I was looking at, but the one that I was looking at was saying that this allegation, okay, so it does say uh, if in her hotel room in 2010, so this is 13 years ago, almost 14 years ago. So I don't know. I'm hoping that this thing is just going to kind of blow under the rug, and Van Diesel will be able to basically dodge this bullet, just because it happened so long ago. So this is still fairly recent and new, so we're still going to have to wait for some more news articles to come out to see how this plays out.
I
But
mean,
as of now, there's no report of him being dropped from the franchise. But he may not even want to be in the franchise anymore. I mean, there's been so many movies that he might not even want to be in there. He might not want to be in part 11. They already got John Cena coming in there now, and so many other new guys coming in to the new movies.
hmm. I
Uh,
mean, think about it though. I mean, this guy has, the very fast. Alexa, when did the first Fast and the Furious movie come out?
The film F9, The Fast Saga, was released on June 25th, 2021.
Okay, so she just told me F9, but I think the Fast and Furious has been going since like 1999 or the early 2000s. Let me look it up. When did the Fast and the
mm,
Furious series start? Gonna We see. I start June 22nd, 2001. So the first movie came out in June 22nd, 2001. So that was 22 years ago. He's been doing this for 22 years. He's invested 22 years of his life into this franchise. This is a franchise that has generated billions and billions of dollars. So I don't know if he's going to be willing to just throw all of it away just like that. I mean, it's gonna, but maybe you're right. There may be settlements. Like he may just try to settle it very quickly, and a lot of these, that may be something that a lot of these men may end up doing. Like if they can just settle it very quickly and move on, they'll settle it very quickly and move on. Just like pay, like basically pay the extortionist. But when you end up having like tons of women that start coming out and trying to collect a check, at that point these guys are going to go down. And in some cases, like Vin Diesel, how many guys did this guy hook up? How many women did this guy hook up with? Because all of those women are going to be coming after him. How many women did he even just like go on dates with? It's like it's. I mean, there's such a long list of women that are going to come at these guys. Like when it comes to P Diddy, I really think this guy's career is like over, or is
yeah. Well,
near life support because there's such a long list of women, such a long drove of women. It's gonna be over. It's gonna be over for a lot of these guys because every woman is gonna come. Every woman in the past that's been hungry and like they've been thinking about it. Like you know what, times are hard and I gotta go get this money and I can remain anonymous while I get this money. There's literally going to be lawyers that are saying that we're looking for any woman that wants to go after one of these celebrities. They'll even have names of these people like, oh, you want to go after P Diddy? Did you know P Diddy 20 years ago? Because we can get you, so we can get you your money, and you don't even have to have your name. Your name will not be out there. We will protect you, and they'll make it up because there's a lot of these women who said things about Cosby, and Cosby said, "I don't even know this woman," and they cannot even
mm,
prove that they actually met, but they're still giving these women cutting these women checks because there's no evidence. But we'll talk. We definitely need to jump into this further. Into this further in another video. I want to go and grab a bite. But yeah.
yeah, we're just gonna have to see how this plays out. And I think Van Diesel is a very professional man. I think the reason why it took so long for him to actually get into it is because he conducts himself professionally. So hopefully, I don't think this is going to go anywhere. I think this is just all just false allegations.
Yeah, but I mean, do you agree that he may end up still ending paying something out?
If the money is low enough, if it's like $50,000, then yeah, just go ahead and pay it just to get it out of the way. But um, I don't know. Like I said, this is breaking news, so we still have to see what's going to happen in the next coming days or weeks.
True that.
So yeah, we're gonna have to do another video when it has more. We have more information on it.
Okay. Yeah, true. Guys, did you enjoy this video? What did you enjoy about it? What do you think about what we discussed here today? Hashtag #MeToo Part 2 is targeting every man now. It's going to literally obliterate things. It's going to change everything. They're going to be going after guys online, guys who slide into their DMs, guys that just make videos they don't like. They're going to go after the janitor. They're going to go after the electrician. They're going to go after the contractor. They're going after everyone, every big name, every small name. They're going to go after the guy who works at fast food and accidentally brushed against them while he was going to the drive-through menu to give someone their order. I want to know your thoughts in the comments, so let's talk about them there. Thanks again to MK Fitness for co-hosting today. Guys, let us know what you think. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.
Cheers.